Hey everyone, Dr. Frunke here with an awesome new unboxing for you. In front of us is the JD Vandeventer Gold. This is a knife that I've been very excited to show to you ever since I picked it up at Blade Show 2018. So if you follow my channel, you'll know that I reviewed the Mini Gold a couple of weeks ago. That was because my good buddy Tyler, who goes by Tovarish Works, is a big fan of South African knives, and he recently picked up a gold and proceeded to have a knife-gasm on video where he kept saying, "Oh, JD, this knife is so amazing." After seeing that video and handling the small gold, the mini gold, I knew that I wanted to get a full size, and so I reached out to JD, who had recently opened his books, and he added me to the list, and we came up with this configuration, and I just picked it up at the Blade Show. I call this an unboxing video, but he brought this knife all the way around the world from South Africa in a small pouch like this. And so that is the unboxing portion of the video right there. So let us go ahead and get some vital signs on this knife before we get too much further. Up front is a 3.75-inch blade, 4 1/4 back to the pivot. You're looking at about 8.75 inches of overall length and about 4 1/4 inches of overall grip area right there. It is not a small knife. The blade stock is coming in at 165 thousandths, and the handle thickness is 0.59 inches, so a little over half an inch. So this is a full-size knife. I'll bring out another couple of common knives for a size comparison. Here is a Spyderco Paramilitary 3, or a Para 3 I should say, and the Paramilitary 2. So you can see the gold is actually substantially larger even than a Paramilitary 2, which is not a small knife. I've found that the gold is actually just about the same size as a Koenig Knives Arius. The Arius is not a small knife either, but the gold and the Arius both do something very well where they have a very nice, big, comfortable handle and a rather large, comfortable blade right there, a capable blade, I should say. Here's another comparison in the Shirogorov F3R. So you can see quite a big knife. The Shirogorov is not a small knife at all. So let's see, with this carbon fiber and titanium construction coming in at this size, it is weighing in at, let's see, oh, come on, tear, oh, come on, tear, there we go. 5.56 ounces. So it's not a light knife either in this configuration, but it's got carbon fiber and titanium. I think the thing that's weighing this down is my insistence on having a mokume construction, and we'll talk about that. So let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically. I guess before we do that, I should mention this knife is designed by Jared van Otterloo. He is a South African, actually he is a knife designer that lots of folks have picked up his designs. You can see his examples with Greg Lightfoot. You can see it with Rod Olson. You can see it on the new Beg Knives Astio. He's got a very unique sort of design language, and there are some commonalities amongst them. Namely the harpoon swedge, the sort of wide blade, and the thick contoured full-size handles. Every guy who makes his knives executes them slightly differently, and it's interesting to see the South African take on this with a slightly more understated and lighter construction. Normally they're sort of big bad frame locks. This is a nice interpretation right here. I really like it. So let's break it down anatomically. Up front is a blade of M390 steel. The camera is going to have a heck of a time focusing on the mirror polished flats and the hand rub satin primary bevels. There is a harpoon swedge that's also done in a hand rub satin. There's hand rub satin on the top of the blade. It's not crowned, but it's rounded off in such a way that it's very, very comfortable. The mirror polish is a fingerprint magnet. Absolutely, 100%. It's got a nice sharpening choil. It's done in a hollow grind, and it is very thin behind the edge. It's a very nice slicer. It came with a very good edge on it, and that M390 steel is going to be no slouch. I love M390. Great, great, great steel. Very happy to have that. The flipper tab right here is very unique. You can see that it is kind of a short and fat looking thing. But I want you to look at how the pivot is set up here. There's a very deep sort of hole right there up into the lock face, and that's because when you open the knife, the lock bar actually inserts very high up into the handle. It's reminiscent of some Elijah Isham designs, but I've seen some others like that too. It's just very unique. A lot of people have commented on that. It makes for a sort of an interesting situation in the sense that there is a hair of lock stick on this knife. I don't know if you can hear it when I'm doing it. There's just a hair of it. Makes it a little bit harder to manage in that it's so high up there. That's just one of those things with these South African knives. Sometimes you just have to accept these kind of small imperfections. I think that so many of them are very close to perfect, but they all have one little tiny thing that's not quite right, and that may be it right there. If I'm totally honest, there's a small amount of rock on the detent. I don't know if you can hear that. Just the tiniest amount. I showed that to JD before I left. He said the pivot may be, a 1/1000th of an inch undersized, and so it moves, but it does not affect the detent or the action or the lockup. It's totally, totally secure. I don't want to get any fingerprints on here. There's no blade play. It's super, super solid, and it feels absolutely amazing. So, moving back to the pivot, we can talk about these beautiful 3-alloy Chad Nichols mokume collars right here. Super beautiful stuff. Copper, bronze, and nickel silver. Beautiful on both sides. It's definitely patinating well. What's really important is that logo right there. You see that logo? It says IKBS, but it's got multiple rows of ball bearings right there. It's multiple ceramic rows of ceramic ball bearings. So there are dual row ceramic IKBS in here. And these pivot collars serve as a reminder of that in my mind. So there's a smaller ring and then a larger ring on the outside, and there's ceramic balls. IKBS refers to the fact that they are non-caged bearings. They are free bearings running on tracks that are milled into the handle. And so it's a very, very smooth and very stable action. This is one of my favorite actions on any knife that I've ever experienced. And that's a bold statement. But really and truly, it has the most control and smoothness of almost any knife. True smoothness, not just speed, but incredible, incredible smoothness going on right there. Really an amazing thing, and I can just sit here and play with this knife all day. I should mention, to add to that, is the detent, which is crisp, and basically you're unable to not fire it. But something that Tyler was talking about, and something I didn't appreciate until I got this knife in hand and some Thorburns at the Blade Show, is the South African acoustics. This will never come across in a video because I can't capture it. It will not capture the complexities of the sound, but listen to this. It sounds like someone is breaking a femur. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. I'm doing this really hard so it makes a loud noise. But it sounds like a bone is breaking, and it's this acoustic that's so loud and incredible, and it sounds really, really amazing. You just have to get one of these in hand to understand what I mean. Thorburns do it best, but this knife captures that essence as well. Let's go ahead and move back and talk about the handles here. These spectacular handles. JVO calls this knife the Golden Gold because of how I've spec'd it out here. We've already mentioned the mokume pivot collars, but there's a full-length mokume backspacer. I want to really capture how that's patinating there as well. Nichols silver, copper, and bronze. Now JD had to do something special on this knife. The mokume was not quite thick enough to fit the back of the handle, so he put two small brass shims on either side. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can in this high resolution. And so it made the backspacer fit. It also provides a little bit of a contrast right there, almost like a floating nature. Let's talk about the handles here. This 3D contoured bronze lightning strike carbon fiber. Look at the way that it dances in the light. I don't know if you can catch there. It just sparkles sometimes from different angles. Really, this thing is just spectacular to look at, spectacular to feel. The clip is done in essentially a cracked ice finish. Looks like it's been hammered, also bronze anodized, just like the liners, which have been bronze anodized and jeweled. I don't know if you can appreciate that on the inside there. It has, in fact, been jeweled. So this knife is absolutely spectacular, the Golden Gold. I'm happy to bring it to you on camera and show it to you. Just picked it up from JD at the Blade Show. Let me know what you guys think down below. Go ahead and check out JD at JDVD Knives on Instagram. Check me out at Dr. Frunky. And as always, guys, take care.